Now we will discuss the role of agreement. Agreement happens when a word changes form depending on the other word to which it relates. For example, in standard English, one may say I am or he is, but not I is or he am. Now this is because the grammar of the language requires that the verb and its subject must agree in person. Here comes the role of agreement. The relationship between subject and verb basically lie at the heart of grammatically correct English writing. The subject has to match with the verb in order to convey easier understanding of a sentence or convey a correct understanding of a sentence. In order to determine that how it can happen, the trick lies in the fact that you need to identify the quantity of the subject and then match the relevant verb to them. Some subject verb agreement are very simple. For example, when you're talking about singular subject, for example he or she, then he talks, she talks, the verb is also singular. With plural subject, for example they, you add or match plural verbs such as they talk or people talk, etc. But then confusion can arise if you are looking at everybody, no one, everyone. Here sometimes, for example, everybody, the temptation is to consider it as plural, but it refers to each and every single person in the crowd, therefore it is singular. Now looking at the role of agreement from different studies. Now Bach and Cutty examined agreement errors as function of the material that intervene between the head noun and the verb. They found that phrase interruptions such as sentence 15, which is the report of the destructive fires were accurate, led to more agreement errors than clause interruptions such as 16, which says the report that they controlled the fires were printed in the paper, even when the number of words were equivalent. In 15, both the head nouns report and the subsequent noun fires are in the same clause as the verb were. In 16, only the head noun is in the same clause as the verb. The author conclude the clauses are planned as complete units even if the words in the clause end up separated in the final utterance. Once a clause is organized, information from another clause such as fires in 16 is less likely to interfere. These results are consistent with Garrett's notion that clause planning precedes planning at the word level. Agreement poses a problem for most current production model. For example, the largest of them is red. Now more recently, Eberhard, Cutting and Bach have argued that agreement poses a problem for most current production models. For example, the sentence the largest of them is red is grammatical, but then so is the largest of them are red. Knowing whether the reference for the phrase the largest of them is singular or plural depends upon the pragmatic and discourse context. Similarly, although nouns that carry the S morpheme are typically plural, there are exceptions. For example, we can say the news is awful today, isn't it? Now there are nouns that do not carry the plural morpheme but nonetheless agree with the plural form of verbs. For example, the personnel are very busy this time of the year. Eberhard et al. State, agreement is not only syntactic, not only semantic, and not only pragmatic, but all of these things at once. As a consequence, it is difficult to see how a purely serial model that devotes each successive stage to a different domain can fully explain agreement phenomena, where they believe that all stages are distinctive and one happening on one stage do not affect happening on the other stage. So, the agreement means that sentence paths match, subject must agree with verbs, and pronouns must agree with antecedents. Singular subjects need singular verb, plural subjects need plural verbs.